Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Price here at devslopes.com. Go ahead and pull open your handy dandy Google Chrome. We're going to talk about something really important today, which is reflux. Now, reflux is stomach acid flows backwards, causing discomfort. That's not what we want. Kind of a poor choice for it, but we're going to search for reflux.js. There it is. Remember that one time when I was teaching about Flux, this Facebook architecture for this one-way data flow with listeners and all the actions and stores and stuff? Well, that's kind of complex, a little bit convoluted. I get what they're doing, but there's a much easier way. And I'm not even going to have you build pure Flux apps. We're going to use reflux.js, which is a library that makes Flux, implementation of Flux much easier. And it's really quite simple, okay? Here it is. Actions, stores, and view components. Much easier, right? This is how, and when I first was learning Flux, I was like, why couldn't it be more like this? Well, now we can do it like this. And this is very, very popular. In fact, most people use Reflux. They don't just build their own implementation of Flux. So this is what we're going to be using. And so I'm going to pull open Photoshop here. And we are going to draw some pictures. What's your favorite Pokemon? I'll do it right now. Just kidding. Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's pretend that we are building our ingredients application and the ingredients are on the server, all right? So we've got a component here. So this is our ingredients or to-dos, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? And then let's say we've got a server. Actually, it's a cloud, remember? There's a cloud here, and this is our server API, whatever you want to call it, okay? So this is our component. Okay, so with Reflux, all right, what's going to happen is your component is going to trigger an action. So here, we're going to list all of our actions, okay? So our component's going to trigger an action, such as creating a new to-do item or ingredient, right? Okay, and then similar to how we did it with Flux, pure Flux, you're going to have your data store. So we might have a store for to-dos. So we'll call this the to-do store. All right. And maybe we have another list for gifts. Like you're going to get gifts for somebody, whatever. And man, this is boring. Like I need more superhero references, right? We should be building superhero apps. That would be fun. Okay. So component to action. So let's say this was add to-do. Okay, so it's going to say, hey, actions, add to do. And actions are going to go ahead and talk to the store, okay? And it's going to do its stuff, all right? And then the store is going to, let's say we had multiple components. That's a component, that's a component. And all of these were listening for the to-do store. The to-do store would simply let all these guys know that data's changed. Much easier, right? This guy too. And keep in mind that the components still listen. They're gonna go and call Reflux and say, "Hey, I'm listening." And when Reflux hears a change from one of the stores, okay, it's just gonna send the data back, and that's really cool. So we won't have to in our components make HTTP requests straight from here. Oh, and by the way, the to-do store, if it was an API request, let's say it was add to-do actions, it would go here to the server. It would add it to the server. The server would probably come back with an asynchronous request, say, "Hey, I just got this back from the server. Let's update the list here too." And then bam, it goes all the way over here to our components. So cool stuff. I don't really have anything else to say. We're going to actually build this. It's much easier than the last example I showed you. And this is the way you want to build your app. So why use this? Okay, so here's the deal. If you're using React just for the views, you can do that. Okay, you can just throw it into your HTML, your jQuery, whatever. You can do that. You can make your API requests, no big deal. However, if you want to build your full stack and really embrace the power of React with its component views, okay, this is the way to do it. It's to build your model layer, your data layer, in this type of fashion where you have actions and stores, and then they kind of send listeners back to the component. And lots of frameworks do this. It's kind of like an observer pattern if you're into design patterns for coding. Basically, the idea with an observer pattern is an object listens, says, hey, I want to listen for notifications. So for instance, I want to listen for whenever data's changed. So it listens and it registers that object or that function in some type of central place. Okay, and then whatever happens in the back end, like the data's changing or some type of action triggers that from somewhere else, okay? Like, so someplace else might post a notification saying, hey, data changed, and then all the listeners will be updated with that data. So it's kind of like the observer pattern, and Reflux simplifies it incredibly, and it still has the good power under the hood, and you can do lots of things with it. We're going to use it in its most simplest form, but you can build full-scale applications with this, professional applications, apps that have millions of users, that's making millions of dollars. So if you're going to build a full stack type application with React, at least for your front end, when I say full stack, I mean like the data layer and the actual views, use Reflux. Okay, that's my professional suggestion to you. That's it. Enough talking for me. Let's dig into the code. And remember, to get your free live help, go to devslopes.com and click on chat room. I'm there all the time, as well as a huge community of other students.